Good morning, everyone. Addiction is not something people really enjoy talking about, but having the conversation isn't easy, but it could end up being the one thing that saves a life. And Greg Hannley, Alex Draghici, and Daniel Baldwin with Sober Recovery are back this morning. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I know we were having this discussion last week, like how late can you say Happy New Year? And I think it's up until you see that person for the first time in the new year, even if it's March. Is that okay? Or is that weird?
You didn't get my text?
I didn't. Yeah, oh, well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So good to see you. We always start off talking about some trending topics, and I found some articles that I thought were very interesting because I've talked to y'all so many times and I've learned so much. And the first one I found was the U.S. Surgeon General. So he has come out and said that he wants Americans to see addiction as a brain disorder and not a moral failing. In other words, people aren't receiving the support they need due to the stigma surrounding addiction. Like, people don't want to come out and say they have a problem because they feel so ashamed. So to have someone in this position come out and say something like this, what do you think that does and what kind of benefit could it have?
Well, I think he's been saying it for a while.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that we've been saying over and over again. We're treating a lot of opiate addicts, and most of them got addicted to a pill. None of them wanted to become a heroin addict, and it's not a dirty secret in a basement anymore. People are talking about it. So, I'm glad that maybe they'll do something for treatment now, hopefully.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that the AMA has acknowledged and said that addiction is a disease for decades.
Right.
They've made that statement. So it's the Surgeon General coming to this conclusion now is that's like saying, if something's on fire, it's probably hot.
Yeah, right.
Well, he's saying
Exactly.
also there's more addicts than cancer patients.
No,
now.
exactly. Yeah, I read that.
So, and you keep hearing in the news that more young people are getting killed by overdose than any other thing that's happening right now. It's, like we've been saying, a contagious epidemic that needs the attention that any other epidemic would get.
But the fact that you have been talking about this for so long and preaching this for so long, it's nice to have that validation. And even though maybe he was aware of it, for him to actually come out and say it is a big deal, right?
Yeah. Really big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking for a long time, and how long have we been doing even just this show? And Greg and Alex have been doing this for over a decade now. And I think the point is, no one has a choice anymore. This is in your living room all through the country. That's the term epidemic is not used lightly, so we're being forced now as a nation to look at this problem.
Good. I'm glad. I mean, I'm not
For
glad
sure.
that it's an epidemic, but I'm glad that we're being forced to look at it and find some way to fix it. I've also read an article that talks about a new rehab treatment facility in Los Angeles. And I read this and I thought, oh my goodness, I have got to talk to Greg about this. So they're open, and what they're doing is they are using marijuana to help their patients detox from drugs and alcohol. So they don't prescribe total abstinence. Instead, it's about harm reduction. The goal is to learn to drink in moderation. So they don't want people to think that they have to go cold turkey, because they think that will get people to actually come in and get help, because it's the cold turkey part that's so scary.
Well,
Another drug.
what you said is true.
Yeah.
That'll get people to come in.
Right.
Yeah.
We were
It's a
talking about
marketing
today.
thing.
For sure, they have the biggest waiting list in the country.
Well,
So, I mean, I had a wine problem, and I fixed my wine problem by drinking a lot of beer.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Gotcha.
So with people who have substance use disorder, whatever it is, of everybody that I ever saw relapse and go back to their drug of choice or get in trouble, it all started with a drink or a smoke of a joint. And it's kind of like, if you're a heroin addict, it's kind of like going to the penny slots in Las Vegas when you're used to playing the dollars.
Right.
You might be able to play for a little while, but you're going to go back to the dollars.
Yeah.
And it's I believe it's just strictly marketing. I don't believe that there's any use in even It's just.
I know.
not
I almost thought, is this for real? Am I on like a joke website? Like, and it really is.
Yeah. It's
Well, that's a great analogy. In Vegas, if you're playing and you're
Right.
gambling and you have a gambling problem, what do they do to keep you gambling? They give you free drinks.
Of course they do.
They have a waitress come by while you're playing going, would you like another drink? You know?
Right.
Sure, feed that addiction.
So, of course, the critics are saying, and these are some of the experts saying, that there's little evidence that marijuana helps drug addiction in any way, shape, or form.
I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
And I think of, okay, they're going to get up in the morning and smoke pot and go to a group. And,
Pot smoking group.
I've even tried to play it out in my head, and I can't even figure it out. I guess, everybody's pretty mellow in treatment.
But
one
those
gets upset.
those hard decisions have had to be made, and actually, as I think about it, by two men at this table right now. And when I say that, I say, we now treat people for Suboxone addiction, because that for a while, and even for us, we said, wow, if we give them this pill, they'll stop wanting to shoot heroin. We didn't realize in the beginning that this pill was going to lead to them being addicted to the pill. So
Right.
Greg and Alex have made the hard decision of saying, you know what, we are going to help you the first detox period. We give you, for instance, hypothetically, one full pill, the second day a pill, then a half, and a quarter, and then you're off all of it. Because we don't want to give you another addiction problem.
not.
So, but there's lots of places that will feed you those pills the entire time.
Just so you're not
and
doing
write you-
heroin.
You got it. So they can
Yeah.
say, you got off heroin.
Yeah, you're just changing drug dealers.
You got it.
I wonder in the intake call if they ask him, are you bringing in your own marijuana, or do you want us to supply it for you?
Because we have a guy. No, I don't
that's
know.
right.
I don't know. All right, well, y'all stick around, and you guys stick around, because we'll have more with Soba after the break. And also, if you have any questions for them, please submit that question on the Daytime Facebook page, and we will get to as many of those as we can before the end of the hour. We'll be right back.
She was waiting for that one.
No one is perfect. We all have our inner struggles. It may be alcohol, drug, or any type of addiction. Soba Recovery Center is here to offer free help. You can get the help and free information by calling right now from the privacy of your own home. Don't let alcohol, drug, or any addiction ruin your life. If you or a loved one have alcohol, drug, or any addiction, get help by calling right now. Soba Recovery Center. Most private insurance accepted.
And welcome back. We are back with Soba Recovery, and we always talk about, Greg, your publication, Recovery Today, which is so popular, and I believe we have the cover we want to show our viewers. And where can people get it if they want to go and read it? I know it's online.
RecoveryTodayMagazine.com.
So simple. And again, this is your publication, and David Vobora is on the cover. And what's really cool is that, Daniel, you were a guest interviewer, and you talked to him and you got his story, and you were blown away. I mean, you were just saying he's just an incredible human being.
His energy and his passion, his ability to, I hear from a lot of celebrities, and many times behind closed doors, I have a problem, and they're not willing to go public with it, or they have an excuse as to why it's going to hurt their career, to be honest, when everybody knows. Right. David is as poignant and forthright and honest about his addiction and his problem, and how pain meds, the standard thing that we see in the regular community too, how this led him to a terrifying addiction problem.
Because he was doing great in his career, right? And then he had the shoulder injury.
Yeah, there was a pain meds for that, and then there was also the steroid component of trying to build himself back up and recover quickly, muscle-wise, and he just. He got so into it and so blown, he lost sight of everything, and he lost it all, And so now he spends his time trying to help other people and put them into recovery and give them back what he now sees as what was really important that he lost in his life. Not his career in the NFL and not that stuff, but just that he has a life now, and he's about solution and. But his passion and his energy through the telephone, he was so energetic and so great. He's somebody that I will retain a friendship with for the rest of my life now.
What did he tell you about the point where his low point, where he said, I've got to get help? What was it for him?
Well, for him, he was able, through the time off in the injury, when he could no longer play. Then there was that moment where the Dallas Cowboys called him and said, hey, do you want to come back? And he was, well into physically being recovered and knew that he would play, and said, started going on that path of building his body back up and what would be required of him versus staying sober and off of everything. And he said he had that epiphany, that moment of truth in his life where he went, you know what, man, I don't want to go back to that. I really don't. It's what I got, the adoration and the money and everything, is so not worth the peace that I have and the simplicity of my life right now. And he walked away from a very lucrative contract and lifestyle that many, fight every day on the playing fields in various sports to attain.
Well, I just want to let our viewers know you can go and read the full interview. It's wonderful.
You can listen to it too. You
Or
can listen
listen.
to the interview.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's at the latest Recovery Today.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
How can they
relates-
listen to it?
It's got a link on it, so when
that's
you're
right,
looking
okay.
at the pictures and seeing the interview, there's
So
a
is the
link.
full conversations?
Well, it's,
Daniel goes,
Because I'm thinking to myself,
I've heard of this.
Did
Of
they
course,
edit
of
it? I said a lot of really terrible stuff.
No, for sure. It's,
Every time he said something that I had oh yeah, well you should see what happened. And I told him a story. Oh my gosh.
well, it relates to a
Edited.
lot of
It's
people in
edited.
Texas.
I hope so.
There's a lot of athletes that story relates to. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to be in the NFL to relate to his story.
I mean, this happens to kids in high school, does it
Yeah.
not? Where they're doing great, they get injured, doctor prescribes, and you've talked about this many times.
We get
some
them all
pain
the time.
medicine, and then that's it.
I meet
they're
this
hooked.
kid who was on his way to being a college pitcher. Just for instance, a kid I'm thinking about, and I go, how did you end up being a heroin addict?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I hurt my arm, and they got me on pain meds.
Just
And
that
I
one
was
time's
going,
all it took.
You kidding me?
And you always talk about the fact that this is where parents need to come in and be aware that if a doctor is prescribing this for your 16, 17-year-old, you need to be monitoring. You need to be
For your
giving
any
them.
old, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what age, it doesn't matter who you are. It's very generally they'll give you 120 painkillers.
Right, Robin's daughter, my wife's daughter went in, college student,
Yeah.
right in that demographic, and she had wisdom teeth pulled, and they gave her 90 Vicodin.
For
And
wisdom teeth.
For wisdom teeth. And the prescription was for not 30, 90. And I thought, 90, that's plenty enough to get you for the first month of when you're like, hey, I
Right.
need those.
Oh, for sure.
You take 90 Vicodin, you're
hooked.
in.
You're in.
You're in.
That is so scary. It really
Yeah.
is. Okay, well, we have viewer questions. We have so many questions that were submitted, so I want to get to as many of those as we can. So we're going to go to break, and when we come back, you guys, if you could answer those questions, that'd be awesome. And if you have a question, be sure and submit it on our Facebook page, the Daytime at Night Facebook page. We'll be right back.
90 Vicodin, 90.
And welcome back. We are here with Sober Recovery, and I want to get to our viewer questions because we had so many submitted. First up, guys, this is from a viewer sent last week. Since every patient is different, does the program offer an individualized treatment? And I guess that's referring to your program.
Yeah.
Sober
Yeah, the
program.
mainstay of it is individualized treatment. So we do, besides the initial assessment, we do what's called a biopsychosocial and a psych evaluation, which is kind of a fancy name for really getting to know you and see what's been going on in your life and things like that. And then we identify the underlying issue and treat that. But it's individualized treatment. So if somebody has, and all our therapists, there's a lot of trauma. I mean, it's really easy to go, people have anxiety and depression.
Right.
So that's kind of the catch thing. But why do they have it?
What caused
happened?
that?
And or do they have bipolar disorder or any number of things. All our clinicians are master level clinicians, and they all are trauma certified, where we actually are treating some wounded warriors now, which really makes me happy to be able to help out those guys. So, and they came to us because we're trauma certified, and individualized treatment is what needs, everybody's different, and they all had different things that were going on in their life, so you treat them individually.
And there lies exactly, and I'm not saying this in a boisterous way, but I'm the greatest example of that there is. I went to 9 recovery centers. The first 8 are the biggest ones on the planet, 70,000 a month, they write the books that you go into the other recovery centers. And every one of them was one size fits all. Until I met Greg, who had written, after going to one of those types of recovery centers himself, wrote down all the things that work and all the things that don't work. And the greatest example of this, or what was different about going to Soba for me to the previous 8, was that after a couple of months of being in there, and starting to establish that kind of trust with somebody who was my therapist, and things coming out about my past and about my childhood, suddenly my treatment started to shift. We started focusing more on abuse issues as a child and stuff that I had that was underneath the addiction. So the addiction is a byproduct. At Soba, they treat not just the addiction, but the original problem that happens. And that's way different for a girl who has a sexual issue that's gone on or whatever. It can be completely different than the guy sitting right next to you. And that's taken into consideration when they meet as a team every week to go over each individual case to say, we need to put this person over here, they need more of this. And the pie continues to shift in its size of slice. And that's by far the difference between going to Soba and going any other place.
And it sure as heck takes more than 28 days.
Oh, gosh,
to get there, so.
Yeah, 28 days is designed to fail.
Yeah.
He was stuck with me for 18 months.
Yay!
He had to throw me out.
Yeah, I tell
And
people.
look, y'all are still together.
Yeah.
I tell people that in the 30 days that I went, I detoxed, lied to my therapist a couple of times, and then
In those
left.
We
30
did
days.
family too, family week.
Oh, yeah. That was just anger management.
So it takes longer, obviously,
Yeah, of course
to get
it
down
does.
and get to the root.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you things until I get to know you.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes time for that. Plus, many aspects of treatment, you think it's just going in and doing therapy as treatment.
Right.
But you have to have, you've got nutrition and fitness that you have to recalibrate. You have sleep things that need recalibrated. You have spiritual things. You've got to get your spirit back as a human being and your esteem back, which takes time. But also social. And
big one.
the social aspect of it is really important to learn how to socialize again. You know, if I'm really, by the time I was going to treatment, it was me and the drugs was my social
That was
network.
it. It's like, what do I do now?
And it was just dark. So I had to learn how to be uncomfortable in a social situation and not have a drink or not have a drug. And it takes a little while for that to happen. The nice thing is that we've offered long-term treatment for a long time because it works.
Yeah. It's all that works.
But isn't that like anything? If you had some type of cancer, you go through the series of tests, you find out what it is, you go in and you get it removed if it's surgery. Then after surgery, there's chemo, there's radiation, then there's going into physical therapy. And that process is a year
Absolutely.
before you say, I'm in remission now. But
And I can
why
go
would that
home.
not be any different with some other type of spiritual, emotional, and physical cancer that you have, which is called addiction?
I
Like
agree
the
with that
Surgeon
completely.
General said, it's a mental health issue.
Yeah.
So really, you're gonna treat a mental health issue in 30
28
days,
days.
actually in 2 weeks,
Right.
because the first week or two of detox, you're not really ready to
You're not
get
talking
into
about anything.
whatever's going on. You're just trying to feel better. And to think that I'm gonna do anything in 2 weeks is just,
Right.
I couldn't,
Yeah.
you're just not.
Just silly. I gotcha. Okay, so you guys stick around because I want to tell our viewers exactly what they can do today if they're in trouble, if someone they love is in trouble, what they can do today to get on the road to recovery. So we will talk about that after the break. And we are back with Sober Recovery. I want to get to one more question, you guys, before we talk about what people can do today if they're struggling. This question is from a viewer. It says, how do you bring up someone's addiction and that they need help without offending or angering them? And I feel like we get this question a lot. People don't know how to approach it.
My initial go-to is, I'm worried about you, or people are worried about you, and start there.
Approach with love.
Yeah, and keep that tone, and know that sometimes it takes multiple conversations. People don't want to be sick, and they know they're sick.
What if they get angry? You
Then
stay calm?
Keep the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you do it if the doctor called you and it was your husband and the doctor said, it turns out that it is cancer?
Right.
Imagine having to go into that room now and say to your husband or your loved one or whatever, honey, we need to talk about something. So I talked to the doctor and it is malignant. And so here's what we need. It's the same thing. You would do it with compassion, you know, and it's a disease. They're sick.
And finally, guys, I just want to, I know there's people out there struggling and they're worried. Maybe they're dealing with an addiction. They have a child, they have someone they loved who's dealing with it, and they don't know what to do. You always say, just call us. Because you're always taking calls.
Yeah, we're taking calls. And you might get me on the phone, you could get Daniel on the phone, Greg's answering calls.
Okay.
Yeah, I started taking calls
That's good.
and just talking to people. So we'll take the time, regardless of whether you can or want to come to us, we'll take the time to give you information that'll be helpful.
So if someone calls and they think they have a problem but they're not really sure, you can help them figure that out?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay. What about if they have a child, a teenager, a college student?
Greg says the most poignant thing ever, and every mother nods their head when I repeat it. I still live for sure. If you're the mother of someone and you think something's different about your child, something's different about your child.
Right.
No one knows better than a mom.
It's true.
No one knows better. So you can call, you don't even have to call to say that they want to, you can just call to speak to Greg or Alex and say, here's what's going on, what do you think? And they're going to tell you from their decades of experience.
I'll just say, we don't just talk about it. I have a 13-year-old in the house. We drug test him.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
just say you should do that.
Yeah.
We do.
You do it.
We do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So they can call at any point, anytime,
point.
and
Yeah.
someone will be there to talk to
And
them.
if we're in town, or if I'm in town, absolutely, if somebody wants to just do a tour to see what it's like, that's
Or
okay.
if your kid comes in late and you think something's wrong, it's okay to call late too.
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
answer the phone in the middle of the night sometimes.
That's why we love you, Greg. Thank y'all for being here. It's always so good to see my friends.
Thanks
All
for
right.
having us, Croc.
And if you would like to get in touch with Sober Recovery, again, we're going to put the number and all the information you need. It will be on the screen. So have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll see you next time.
No one is perfect. We all have our inner struggles. It may be alcohol, drug, or any type of addiction. Soba Recovery Center is here to offer free help. You can get the help and free information by calling right now from the privacy of your own home. Don't let alcohol, drug, or any addiction ruin your life. If you or a loved one have alcohol, drug, or any addiction, get help by calling right now. Soba Recovery Center. Most private insurance accepted.